Lisa had always been the quiet one. While her identical twin sister Maya dazzled everyone at family gatherings with her loud laugh and sparkling personality, Lisa preferred to stay in the background. She was the one who helped their mother in the kitchen, the one who remembered everyone's birthdays, and the one who studied late into the night to earn her business degree. The twins looked exactly the same on the outside. Same brown eyes, same wavy hair, same small birthmark on their left shoulder. But their personalities couldn't have been more different. Maya was the life of every party, while Lisa was the one people called when they needed real help or advice. Their family had money. Their father owned several successful restaurants across the city, and their mother came from old money. Maya loved this lifestyle. She enjoyed the fancy parties, the expensive clothes, and the attention that came with being rich and beautiful. Lisa, on the other hand, felt uncomfortable with all the show-off behavior. She wanted to build something meaningful with her life. When Lisa started dating Robert, Maya couldn't hide her jealousy. Robert came from an important family too. His father was a well-known judge, and his mother was a successful doctor. Robert himself was a lawyer who had just been made partner at his firm. He was handsome, successful, and genuinely kind. What made Maya most angry was that Robert clearly preferred Lisa's quiet strength over flashy charm. He loved how Lisa listened carefully when he talked about his cases. He appreciated her thoughtful questions and her genuine interest in his work. Maya tried to flirt with Robert at family dinners, but he barely noticed her attempts. The engagement happened on a beautiful spring evening. Robert took Lisa to their favorite restaurant, the small Italian place where they had their first date. He got down on one knee right there at their usual table, with the same waiter who had served them that very first night watching with tears in his eyes. The ring was perfect, not too big or flashy, just elegant and timeless, exactly like Lisa herself. Maya's jealousy grew stronger every day as the wedding planning began. Their mother was so excited, calling all her friends to talk about the upcoming marriage. Their father proudly told everyone at the country club about his future son-in-law. Maya felt like she was disappearing while Lisa became the center of attention for the first time in their lives. The wedding was planned for a Saturday in June at their family's country club. Everything had to be perfect. The flowers were white, roses in baby's breath. Lisa had chosen a simple but elegant dress that made her look like a princess. The guest list included 300 people. Family friends, business partners, and society people their parents wanted to impress. As the wedding day got closer, Maya's behavior became strange. She started asking detailed questions about the wedding plans. She wanted to know exactly when Lisa would get her hair and makeup done, who would be helping her get dressed, and what time she needed to be at the church. Lisa thought Maya was just trying to be helpful, so she shared every detail with her sister. 3 days before the wedding, Maya suggested they have a special sisters' breakfast together. She said she wanted to apologize for being jealous and give Lisa her blessing. Lisa was touched by this gesture. She had always hoped that marriage wouldn't come between her and her twin sister. On the morning of the wedding, Maya arrived at Lisa's apartment early with coffee and pastries from their favorite bakery. She seemed genuinely happy and excited for her sister. They sat together in Lisa's kitchen, talking about childhood memories and laughing about silly things they used to do as kids. Lisa felt so grateful to have her sister's support on the most important day of her life. She drank the special coffee Maya had brought, not noticing the slightly bitter taste that Maya had covered up with extra sugar and cream. Within 30 minutes, Lisa began feeling dizzy and confused. Maya told her not to worry, that it was just wedding day nerves. She helped Lisa to the couch and suggested she rest for a few minutes. But instead of getting better, Lisa felt worse. Her vision became blurry and she couldn't think clearly. The last thing she remembered was Maya's voice saying something about how everything would work out for the best. When Lisa woke up, it was dark outside. She was in her own bed, still wearing her pajamas, with no memory of how she got there. Her phone showed dozens of missed calls and messages. Confused and frightened, she called her mother. Her mother answered with a voice full of anger and disappointment. She accused Lisa of running away on her wedding day and breaking Robert's heart. Lisa tried to explain that she had been sick, that something was wrong, but her mother wouldn't listen. The wedding had happened without her, and everyone was furious. What Lisa didn't know was that Maya had taken her place at the altar. After drugging her sister, Maya had gone to the beauty salon using Lisa's appointment. She wore Lisa's dress, carried Lisa's flowers, and walked down the aisle to marry the man Lisa loved. The guests saw what they expected to see, a beautiful bride who looked exactly like the woman they knew as Lisa. Robert, nervous about his own wedding day, didn't notice the small differences in personality. Maya was more talkative and flirty than usual, but he thought it was just excitement. Even Lisa's parents didn't realize they were watching the wrong daughter get married. In their fancy social world, everything looked perfect from the outside, and that's all that seemed to matter. Dein perfect crime was complete, and Lisa's life had been stolen while she lay unconscious in her own home. For 3 months, Lisa lived in a nightmare that felt like a strange dream. Everyone in her family treated her like she had lost her mind. They said she was having a breakdown, that the stress of planning a big wedding had been too much for her. Her parents made her see doctors who couldn't find anything wrong with her physically, but suggested she might need therapy for her delusions. Lisa tried to tell them the truth over and over again. She explained that Maya had drugged her coffee and stolen her identity, but every time she brought up these claims, her family looked at her with pity and concern. Her mother would pat her hand gently and say things like, "Sweetheart, you got married 3 months ago. You're Mrs. Harrison now. Maya is single and living in her own apartment." The worst part was that everyone had photos and videos to prove their version of events. Lisa's phone was filled with pictures of herself at the wedding, smiling and dancing with Robert. There were videos of her cutting the cake and throwing the bouquet. In every single image, she saw her own face living a life she had never experienced. But Lisa knew something was wrong with these photos. The woman in the wedding dress was wearing makeup that was too heavy, something Lisa never did. Her smile was different too, bigger and more dramatic than Lisa's natural, gentle smile. The way she was holding Robert looked forced and awkward, not like the comfortable way Lisa and Robert used to be together. Maya had moved into Robert's house and was living Lisa's dream life. She drove Lisa's car, wore Lisa's engagement ring, and slept in Lisa's bed with Lisa's fiancé. Meanwhile, Lisa was stuck in her small apartment, isolated from everyone she cared about, trying to convince the world that she was telling the truth. The hardest part was that Robert wouldn't talk to her. Every time Lisa tried to call him, Maya would answer the phone. Maya would speak in a sweet voice, pretending to be concerned about Lisa's condition. She would say things like, "My poor sister is still struggling with her mental health. The doctors say she needs time to accept reality." Lisa felt like she was going crazy herself. Some days, she would stare at the wedding photos for hours, wondering if she really had lost her memory. Maybe she did get married and just forgot. Maybe the stress really had affected her mind. But deep in her heart, she knew the truth. She remembered Robert's proposal perfectly. She remembered choosing her wedding dress. She remembered every detail of planning that day except the day itself. One afternoon, while scrolling through social media, Lisa found something that changed everything. Her college roommate had posted a photo from the wedding with a caption that said, "Beautiful ceremony, but something seemed different about the bride today. Couldn't put my finger on it." Lisa immediately called her old roommate, Jessica. At first, Jessica seemed confused and worried about Lisa's mental state just like everyone else. But when Lisa started sharing specific memories from their college years, things that only the real Lisa would know, Jessica began to listen more carefully. "You know," Jessica said slowly, "I did think you seemed different at the wedding. You were so much more loud and dramatic than usual. And you didn't remember our inside jokes when I tried to talk to you during the reception." This was the first crack in Maya's perfect deception. Lisa begged Jessica to think harder about that day. What exactly had seemed different? Jessica remembered that the bride had been drinking more than usual. Lisa had never been much of a drinker. The bride had also been flirting with several guests, which was completely unlike Lisa's personality. With Jessica's help, Lisa started reaching out to other college friends who had attended the wedding. Slowly, she began gathering people who had noticed small things that didn't seem right. Her friend David remembered that the bride didn't recognize him at first, even though he and Lisa had been study partners for 2 years. Another friend mentioned that the bride seemed confused when people brought up their shared memories. But the most important discovery came from an unexpected source. Lisa's elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen, had seen Maya leaving Lisa's apartment building on the wedding morning. Mrs. Chen was known for sitting by her window and watching everything that happened in the neighborhood. She clearly remembered seeing both twins that morning, one looking sick and confused and the other one dressed up and carrying a large bag. Mrs. Chen had thought it was strange at the time but hadn't said anything because she didn't want to interfere in family business. When Lisa asked her to think about the timing, Mrs. Chen was very specific. She had seen Maya leave around 10 in the morning, about the same time Lisa was supposed to be getting ready at the salon. Armed with this new information, Lisa went to the police. But filing a report about identity theft within a family was more complicated than she had expected. The officers were sympathetic, but explained that without clear evidence of a crime, there wasn't much they could do. After all, Maya was legally Lisa's identical twin, and everyone believed Maya was the real wife. Lisa realized she needed more than just witness accounts. She needed proof that she had been drugged that morning. She went back to her doctor and requested that they test her hair for any traces of substances. Hair tests can detect drugs for months after they're taken, and Lisa hoped that 3 months wasn't too long. While waiting for the test results, Lisa made a decision that would change everything. She was going to confront Maya directly, but this time, she was going to record the conversation. If Maya slipped up and admitted to what she had done, Lisa would finally have the evidence she needed to prove her identity and get her life back. Lisa's hands shook as she held the recording device. She had practiced this conversation 100 times in her head, but now that she was sitting across from Maya at their favorite coffee shop, everything felt surreal. Maya looked exactly like her, but wearing the expensive clothes and jewelry that Robert had bought for his wife. Maya walked in like she owned the world. She had the confidence that comes from getting away with the perfect crime for months. She sat down and ordered an expensive latte, then looked at Lisa with fake concern in her eyes. "How are you feeling, sister?" Maya asked in a sweet voice. "Mom and Dad are so worried about you. Maybe it's time to check yourself into that nice hospital we talked about." Lisa kept her voice steady, even though her heart was pounding. "I know what you did, Maya. I know you drugged me and stole my wedding." Maya's expression didn't change, at all. She just smiled and shook her head sadly. "Lisa, we've been through this. You're sick. You need help. I'm married to Robert now and we're very happy together." But Lisa had learned something important over the past few months. Maya was proud of what she had done. She couldn't resist showing off even when she was supposed to be hiding her crime. As Lisa kept pushing, Maya's mask started to slip. "You want to know the truth?" Maya finally said, leaning forward with a cruel smile. "Fine. You never deserved Robert anyway. You were always too boring for him. I did him a favor by giving him a wife who actually knows how to have fun." Lisa's recording device captured every word, but Maya wasn't finished. She started bragging about how easy it had been to fool everyone. She described exactly how she had drugged Lisa's coffee and how she had practiced Lisa's signature for weeks. She even laughed about how Robert hadn't noticed the difference on their honeymoon. The recording was exactly what Lisa needed, but it came with devastating news. Maya was pregnant. She was carrying Robert's child, and she planned to use the baby to make her marriage permanent. "Even if people believe your crazy story," Maya said with a smug expression, "Robert will never leave me now. We're having a baby together. I win." Lisa felt like the world was crashing down around her again. A baby changed everything. Even if she could prove that Maya had stolen her identity, Robert now had a child with the wrong sister. How could she ask him to choose between her and his own baby? But Lisa had come too far to give up. She took the recording to a lawyer who specialized in identity theft cases. The lawyer, Ms. Rodriguez, listened to the entire recording with a serious expression. She explained that this was one of the most complex cases she had ever seen. "The problem," Ms. Rodriguez said, is that your sister has been living as you for months. She has legal documents, bank accounts, and now a pregnancy that makes her position stronger. We can prove she committed fraud, but proving you're the real victim will be harder. The legal battle that followed was brutal. Maya hired expensive lawyers who painted Lisa as a mentally unstable woman who was jealous of her sister's happiness. They brought in doctors who said Lisa was suffering from a condition that made her believe false memories. They even had Lisa's own parents testify that they believed Maya was the one who had gotten married. Lisa's parents were the hardest part of the whole ordeal. Her mother and father had always struggled to tell the twins apart, so they believed whichever daughter seemed more confident and put together. Maya had always been better at convincing people, and now she was using that skill to destroy Lisa's credibility. The media attention made everything worse. Local news stations picked up the story of the twin identity crisis, and reporters camped outside Lisa's apartment building. Some people believed Lisa's story, but others thought she was just a disturbed woman seeking attention. The internet was full of cruel comments about both sisters. Robert was caught in the middle of the nightmare. The recording proved that Maya had lied to him about everything, but she was carrying his child. He filed for divorce, but Maya fought it, claiming that Lisa was trying to destroy a happy family. The legal process moved slowly, and Robert struggled with the impossible situation. Meanwhile, Lisa's hair test results came back positive for a powerful sedative that would have made her unconscious for hours. This was crucial evidence, but Maya's lawyers argued that Lisa could have taken the drug herself to support her false story. The case dragged on for months. Lisa spent all her savings on legal fees and had to move back in with her parents, who still treated her like she was mentally ill. She lost her job because of all the court appearances and media attention. Every day felt like a battle just to prove she existed, but something unexpected happened during this dark time. Lisa discovered a strength she never knew she had. Fighting for her identity forced her to become the strong, confident person she had always admired in others. She started speaking up for herself in ways she never had before. She also found allies in unexpected places. Other people who had experienced identity theft reached out to her. Some had been scammed by family members too. Lisa realized that her story was part of a bigger problem that society wasn't prepared to handle. The turning point came when Lisa's lawyer found security camera footage from the morning of the wedding. The footage clearly showed Maya entering Lisa's apartment building early that morning and leaving hours later with a large bag. It also showed Lisa looking confused and disoriented much later in the day. This evidence, combined with the recording and the witness statements, finally convinced the judge that Lisa was telling the truth. But by then, Maya had given birth to Robert's son, and the legal complications were far from over. Lisa stared at the computer screen in her tiny one-bedroom apartment. The legal battle was still ongoing, but something inside her had changed. Instead of waiting for the courts to give her life back, she decided to build a new one from scratch. The pain of losing everything had taught her something valuable. She was much stronger than she had ever imagined. It started with a simple blog post. Lisa wrote about her experience online, sharing her story without anger or bitterness. She focused on how identity theft by family members was more common than people realized. Within hours, her post had dozens of comments from people sharing similar stories. Some had been scammed by siblings, others by parents or cousins. Lisa realized she wasn't alone. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of people reached out to her through email and social media. They shared heartbreaking stories of betrayal by the people they trusted most. A woman from Texas told her how her sister had stolen her credit cards and destroyed her financial future. A man from Florida explained how his brother had used his identity to commit fraud and left him to face the consequences. Lisa spent hours every day responding to these messages. She offered practical advice about legal options and emotional support for people who felt lost and betrayed. Her small apartment became an unofficial helpline for victims of family fraud. She researched laws, connected people with lawyers, and created support groups where victims could talk to others who understood their pain. Word spread quickly about Lisa's work. A local newspaper wrote an article about her story and her efforts to help others. Then a radio station interviewed her. Soon she was appearing on television shows, sharing her experience and advocating for victims of identity theft. Each appearance brought more people seeking help. The business degree that Lisa had worked so hard to earn finally became useful. She understood how to organize resources, manage volunteers, and create systems that could help large numbers of people. Within 6 months, she had established a nonprofit organization called True Identity Support Network. The organization grew faster than Lisa had ever expected. Donations came in from people who had heard her story and wanted to help. Some were small amounts from other victims who understood the struggle. Others were large checks from wealthy individuals who were moved by Lisa's mission. A famous actress whose identity had been stolen by her own assistant donated $50,000 and agreed to be a spokesperson. Lisa rented office space and hired 3 full-time employees. They created a hotline that operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They developed resources to help victims navigate the legal system and recover their stolen identities. They also worked with law enforcement to train officers about the unique challenges of family-related identity theft. The work was healing for Lisa, too. Every person she helped felt like a small victory against the injustice she had experienced. She discovered that she had a gift for public speaking and advocacy. The quiet, shy woman who had always stayed in the background was becoming a powerful voice for change. But the most unexpected development came from an unlikely source. Robert's mother, Mrs. Harrison, reached out to Lisa privately. She had always preferred Lisa over Maya, even before learning the truth about the wedding deception. Mrs. Harrison was a successful businesswoman herself, and she was impressed by what Lisa had accomplished despite everything she had been through. "I want to help," Mrs. Harrison said during their first meeting. "What Maya did to you was unforgivable, but watching you turn this nightmare into something positive has been inspiring. My family has resources, and I think we should use them to support your cause." Mrs. Harrison's support changed everything. She introduced Lisa to wealthy donors and influential people who could help expand the organization. She also provided business advice and connections that would have taken Lisa years to develop on her own. Most importantly, she gave Lisa something she hadn't had in over a year: the support of someone who believed in her completely. The Harrison family's endorsement also helped with Lisa's legal case. When respected members of the community publicly supported Lisa's story, it became harder for Maya's lawyers to paint her as unstable or dishonest. The tide of public opinion was shifting in Lisa's favor. Meanwhile, Maya's carefully constructed world was falling apart. The stress of maintaining her lies while dealing with a new baby was overwhelming her. She had always been charming and confident, but now she seemed desperate and erratic. Her marriage to Robert was crumbling under the weight of deception and legal battles. Lisa's organization caught the attention of national media. She was invited to speak at conferences about identity theft and family fraud. Major magazines wrote feature articles about her story. A documentary filmmaker approached her about making a movie about her experience. Publishers contacted her about writing a book, but Lisa was careful not to let the attention go to her head. She remembered how Maya had always craved the spotlight, and how that need for attention had ultimately destroyed her. Lisa used every interview and speaking opportunity to focus on helping others rather than promoting herself. The most rewarding moment came when Lisa received a letter from a teenage girl whose older sister had been stealing her identity to get credit cards. The girl had seen Lisa on television and realized she wasn't alone. With Lisa's organization's help, she had stopped the fraud and rebuilt her credit. She was now able to go to college with financial aid that her sister's actions had almost cost her. By the end of the year, Lisa's organization had helped over 3,000 people. They had prevented millions of dollars in fraudulent activity and helped families heal from betrayal. Lisa had transformed her personal tragedy into a force for positive change in the world. The quiet woman who had once lived in her sister's shadow had become a leader and an inspiration to thousands of people. 2 years after the wedding that changed her life forever, Lisa stood in front of a packed auditorium at the state capitol building. She was wearing a simple navy blue dress and holding a folder full of statistics about identity theft victims. Behind her, a large screen displayed the logo of her organization, which now had offices in 12 states and had helped over 15,000 people. The room was filled with lawmakers, journalists, and families affected by identity fraud. Lisa was there to testify in favor of new legislation that would make it easier for victims to prove their cases and hold family members accountable for identity theft. It was a moment she never could have imagined during those dark days when no one believed her story. 3 years ago, Lisa began, her voice strong and clear, I woke up to discover that my twin sister had stolen my identity and married my fiancé while I lay unconscious in my own home. Today I'm here not as a victim, but as an advocate for the thousands of people who have faced similar betrayals. The audience listened in complete silence as Lisa shared her story and the stories of others her organization had helped. She talked about the elderly man whose son had stolen his retirement savings, the college student whose roommate had ruined her credit, and the mother whose daughter had used her identity to commit fraud. Each story demonstrated why stronger laws were needed to protect victims and prosecute criminals, even when they were family members. The legal battle with Maya had finally ended 6 months earlier. The evidence had been overwhelming. The security footage, the recording, the drug test results, and testimony from dozens of witnesses. Maya was sentenced to 5 years in prison for identity theft, fraud, and several other charges. She had also been ordered to pay damages to Lisa and to the Harrison family for the emotional and financial harm she had caused. Robert had divorced Maya as soon as the legal system allowed it. The marriage was declared fraudulent from the beginning, which meant it had never been legally valid. Robert had custody of his young son, but he made sure the child would know the truth about his mother when he was old enough to understand. Lisa and Robert had tried to rebuild their relationship after the truth came out, but too much had happened. The trust they had shared was broken, and both of them had changed too much during the ordeal. They remained friends, and Robert had become one of the biggest supporters of Lisa's organization. He often spoke at events about the importance of believing victims and taking family fraud seriously. Lisa's parents had been forced to face the truth about both their daughters. They had spent months in family therapy, trying to understand how they had failed to protect one daughter from the other. Lisa had forgiven them, but their relationship was different now. She had learned to stand up for herself and demand the respect she deserved. The most surprising development had come from Mrs. Harrison, Robert's mother. She had not only supported Lisa's organization financially, but had also become like a second mother to her. Mrs. Harrison often said that she had gained the daughter-in-law she had always wanted, just not in the way she had expected. With Mrs. Harrison's help, Lisa had expanded her organization into a national movement. They had created educational programs for schools, training materials for law enforcement, and resources for mental health professionals. They had also established a legal fund to help victims who couldn't afford lawyers fight their cases in court. Lisa's book, Stolen Life, Found Purpose, had become a bestseller. The book told her complete story but also included practical advice for identity theft victims and their families. All the profits from the book went directly to her organization, funding more programs and helping more people. The documentary about her story had aired on a major streaming platform and had been nominated for several awards. It had brought international attention to the problem of family identity theft and had inspired people around the world to seek help for similar situations. But the most meaningful recognition had come from the families she had helped. Lisa's office walls were covered with thank you letters, photos, and small gifts from people whose lives had been changed by her work. There was the drawing from a 7-year-old whose grandmother had stolen her college fund. There was the wedding invitation from a couple who had met in one of Lisa's support groups. There was the graduation photo from a young man who had been able to go to medical school after Lisa's organization helped him clear his fraudulent criminal record. Maya had been released from prison early for good behavior, but she had moved to another state and had no contact with the family. Lisa occasionally wondered what had become of her sister, but she had learned not to let those thoughts consume her. Maya had made her choices and Lisa had made hers. On the anniversary of that terrible wedding day, Lisa established a new tradition. Instead of mourning what she had lost, she celebrated what she had gained. Every year on that date, her organization held a Victory Day event where they honored survivors who had rebuilt their lives and advocates who had helped them. Lisa had never remarried, but she had found something more valuable than the life that had been stolen from her. She had discovered her true purpose and had used her pain to prevent others from suffering the same way. She had transformed her family's legacy from one of betrayal and deception to one of healing and justice. Standing in that auditorium, watching, lawmakers nod in agreement as she spoke. Lisa knew that her sister's cruel actions had actually led her to exactly where she was meant to be. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us become the foundation for the best things we do for others. The quiet twin who had always lived in someone else's shadow had finally found her light, and she was using it to guide others out of their darkness.